good Wednesday morning. Lots of smiles last night in New York. Baseball, Kodai Senga with a gem, and the bullpen didn't cough it up as he goes 7 shutout innings. Then you got Ottavino, then you got Robertson, and then you got a victory over the Philadelphia Phillies. So that was great to see. And the Yankees continue to absolutely mash as they destroy the Seattle Mariners again, hang another 10 spot up there. And Aaron Judge, yes, he hits another home run. So for a day, for a morning, concerns not as big as they normally are for us in these two teams. It was nice to see. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, Jay. I'm doing great. And you're right. I mean, the Yankees, 3 games in a row now where they have scored at least 10 runs. I mean, that's amazing. And Aaron Judge hits another home run last night, but everybody else gets involved again. And for Kodai Senga, that's exactly what we are hoping to see all year long. And this is the recipe for the Mets. As long as Ottavino and Robertson do their job, you couldn't ask for much more than that. Now, the interesting thing is, between the Yankees and the Mets, who's closer to first place in their respective division?
Is it the same right now, or the Mets actually might be after another loss by the Braves last night?
The Mets are 4 games out, and the Yankees are 5 games out, but the Yankees are flying. I mean, I think they're 17-8 maybe in their last 25, and, I don't hear anybody bitching and complaining about Brian Cashman these days. That seems to have waned a little bit, and as they put Harrison Bader on the IL, another guy that, can't seem to stay healthy and has been a spark plug since he came back. But, this whole thing revolves around, really Judge. I mean, and when he's in a lineup, it's amazing. You want to watch every at-bat. That's why I got no sleep. I can't for some reason.
You did not stay up and watch this whole game.
I watched up to 7 innings. And then I kind of woke up and the game was, I think somebody was yapping about the game. I don't know who it was, and I finally turned it off. But, I mean, it's like you got to see him hit, man. It reminds me. It reminds me of that home run race with with McGuire and Sosa and those guys. And
well, how about it reminds us of last year?
Yeah, kind of between him and Pete Alonso, what's going on right now?
Yeah.
I mean, it's great because it's New York baseball. We all know baseball's regional, and we have 2 of the best home run hitters in baseball right now. They're both mashing the ball, and it's fun to watch. And, like I had been saying, the National League is not a great league overall. And the Mets are going to be in this mix all the way until the end, and they will make moves at the trade deadline. They will figure out what to do with Daniel Vogelbach. Maybe when Tavares comes back, they'll send Vogelbach away and carry 3 catchers. Who knows?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, we're not really sure about what's going to happen, and you never know when the next injury is going to happen. But both baseball teams last night it was fun to watch. It was fun to watch, and a couple other local things too. It looks like Scott Perry is going to be moved out of the GM spot.
Yeah, right, and we will get to that a little bit later.
No, I know we will, but I'm just saying.
Right.
I just want to make sure that we did talk about that. And how about the fact that DeAndre Hopkins now is out on the market as a free agent wide receiver? And then I was reading a really interesting article about your guy, Justin Jefferson, last night.
Okay.
About the amount of money that he is trying to extract from your Minnesota Vikings. Now, I know you're looking at Al and Eddie going, why is he talking about
I don't know. I'm very confused here because I think every single topic I was planning to talk about you just mentioned in the first 4 minutes of the show. I'm not sure exactly where we go from here. So if we could focus on one thing, that would be great. I know. It really is like speed dating.
I know because I got no sleep last night. And I was watching these games, and I'm reading a million things, and there were so many things that just came to the forefront of my brain.
Yeah.
That I just wanted to see whether or not you were paying attention.
Well, trust me, I'm paying full attention. Okay. So much attention.
Al, can you do me a favor, Al?
Yes, sir.
Can you get me some oatmeal? Because I'm going to start slurping it in his ears.
They're not open yet. They're not quite open yet. Okay. I think they're open. Are they open at 6 o'clock? I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
All right.
Okay. Well, yeah.
But anyway, Kodai Senga was great last night.
Yes, he was great last night.
You want to get back to that?
Now, what is it about the home and what's that? What are we farting sounds for?
I don't know.
My God. So you were up the entire night. You come in here. You want to talk about everything in the first segment.
And by the way,
you're going to make fart sounds.
By the way, I got you 3 golf invites yesterday.
Really?
Everybody wants to play golf with Gio for some reason.
Yeah,
now.
well, they just want to watch and laugh. That's what I think it comes down to.
That's what I told them. I said,
it's a comedy
routine. You really
routine.
want him because you want to just like watch and laugh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not as bad as last year, but it's still pretty bad. But I'm trying my ass off, man.
That's what everybody says, and everybody realizes it because they do listen and they know that you are trying your ass off.
My lesson got canceled yesterday. That bummed me out. So that I had to try to reschedule it because I got to get back out there. But anyway, yeah, so we'll get to the golf invites and everything else. So you don't want to talk about Kodai Senga because you made a fart noise after that.
He was awesome last time. We all know that. And this was the Kodai Senga that we were hoping to see. A one-hitter, 9 strikeouts. And look how fast that game went last night.
Yeah, and let me ask you, the home and the road thing for Kodai Senga is just massive if you look at the splits. It is so stark.
If I look at the what?
The splits, meaning home and road.
Oh.
All right, so is that something that can change for this guy? Because right now, Citi Field, he is dominant. He's got Cy Young type numbers at home, and he's got like over a 6 ERA on the road or whatever it is. It's horrendous. So I hope that's something that needs to be fixed right away because he is a 5th, probably 6th type of starter on the road, and at home he's an ace
so
far.
Just pitch him at home only?
Yeah, they should do that, right? Because that's what they do. Like they pitch once a week in Japan, so just pitch him at home. That'd be perfect.
I mean, listen, at the end of the day, they're trying to give him extra days of rest when they can.
Sure.
So pitch him at home only.
Yeah,
that will never happen.
No,
but,
will not. Especially with the money he's making.
It seems like a pretty simple adjustment.
Right. Seems like a simple adjustment is right, is just pitch the guy at home. But yeah, I mean, that's going to be something I'll keep an eye on, especially if they make it into the postseason. You're going to have to, if this continues through the rest of the season, you get to the postseason, you got to make sure that guy's pitching on the road at home, no matter what. I don't care what it has to be. I mean, if you're starting at home, which I don't think they probably will at this point, but like he's going to have to pitch that first game as opposed to Verlander or Scherzer because you can't have him start game 3 on the road because he's been that bad.
Well, let me tell you something. Last night he was about as dominant as they come. I mean, they were swinging and missing at everything, and especially this ghost ball, whatever the hell it is. That thing was dropping off the table last night.
The ghost ball,
and it was like they were. It was almost like they were a foot above it.
Yeah. Well,
that's how much that ball was moving last night.
Right. That's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to fall off. It's supposed to confuse you, and it's good to get a win against the Phillies. You haven't seen them all year, so it's good to kick off that. Now, speaking of starting pitching, do you have any concern because you were watching his whole game last night, and he has not had a great season? Not like he was terrible last night, but still, it's not been anywhere near last year. Are you starting to feel like Nestor Cortez is turning into a pumpkin?
I kind of told you 3 weeks ago that I was, that he was not impressive. He was not what he was last year. And I don't know if it's an arm issue. I don't know if teams have caught up to him. I'm not sure if he's tipping any sort of pitches, but it seems like he's laboring is what it seems to me.
Yeah.
And he's grinding, and he's trying to grind through it. And, when you're scoring 10 runs, you're also out there pitching differently as well. Maybe you don't have to nibble as much. I always felt like he was I don't know what you talked about splits. I don't know if you could check on this because you're a big split guy all of a sudden. Maybe you could check on, his chase rate.
Chase rate?
Yeah.
Wow, that's even crazier than splits. I feel like splits is like a normal baseball thing. Chase rate now that's insane.
Yeah, I know. And I think
chase rate.
I think chase rate, he had a high chase rate last year.
Okay.
I think.
I have to give.
I don't know. I have no idea.
I have to give.
Call Evan up. He'll know.
I have to give one of the overnight callers actually a tip of the cap. I never do this, but they brought up maybe him and the pitch clock because he used so many wacky different things, and he would take his time. He would throw hitters off balance, and it's hard for a guy like that to throw guys off balance when there's a time limit that you have to throw the ball. And maybe something has to do with that. You talk about laboring. That's another thing. Like, so he obviously is.
Like we're watching the highlights here,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So you see some of these balls out of the strike zone.
Sure,
that's
right.
the chase rate.
Mm-hmm.
Like and I don't know. Maybe it could be the pitch clock. It could be the fact that he has to adjust to it, or just that he's having not a great year. I mean, it's just like an off year.
Yeah. Well, they're going to need him desperately, obviously, because this team is not anywhere near what they were last year without him. I mean, you can count on Garrett Cole, and then after that, you're basically, Herman and Severino.
Well, those guys look pretty good.
I know, but for how long?
Well, hopefully now they both have settled in, gotten past their injuries, and they can be calm and
Right.
You know,
Same with Josh Donaldson, Harrison Bader, Giancarlo Stanton, all those guys, right? They get past their injuries.
I know it's all Brian Cashman's fault.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Well, I mean, nobody's calling in and complaining about Brian Cashman.
They
right
will
now.
again at some point. They will, because when they do what they do every postseason, then they'll call up and want him gone again. And just because they won a couple of games in Seattle doesn't mean that the fans that wanted Brian Cashman out now think he's the GM of the year. I mean,
by the way, they've won. I think it's 17 out of their last 25.
Right.
You know?
I mean, but they won a division last year.
It's not just about and they're right there again this year.
No, but my point is that they won the division last year, and then they fizzled out against the Astros, and that's when people were calling up saying that they wanted to change, at the general manager position, and the regular season meant nothing to them. So you can't tell me that you win 17 out of whatever that the fans are going to change their minds.
If the regular season supposedly means nothing to somebody, I don't know who you're talking about, but if it means nothing to somebody, then why are they always calling up and bitching about them anyway?
Well, because the results at the end of the season is what dictates those opinions.
Well, you got to get to the end of the season, and you got to be in the mix in order to be able to fail when you get there.
I'm sure you were right about that.
It would be nice to have one of these teams around here, and I don't care what sport it is, going into the postseason on a high as opposed to as on a low. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I mean, it seems like all these teams, and you look at like the Heat. The Heat, they caught fire. But they caught fire going into the playoffs, and now they're in the finals. Denver played great all year long. They kind of stumbled a little bit towards the end when Jokic, I think, missed a couple games. But then when the playoffs started, they just ascended to being that team that they had been pretty much the entire year. In other words, they found their game. I could say the same thing in hockey, too, between Vegas and Florida. They found their games at the right time. Just for once, I'd like to have a team around here find its game at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, you felt pretty good about the way the Rangers were playing going into the playoffs, didn't you?
I was. I never expected a Game 7 meltdown and total quit and, let's tuck our tails and leave Jersey, sourpussed.
Well, I mean, especially after the first two games. Like, you felt good about them going into the postseason, then they dominated the first two games.
The trade deadline, with the exception of maybe Patrick Kane, was great. I mean, Chris Drury did a great job. But at the end of the day, somebody had to pay for that failure.
Yeah.
And the coach loses his job, and now they're in the midst of looking for another coach and trying to figure out how the hell they can manufacture their salary cap and keep some of their players. So it's, again, I thought they were going in on a high. But then again, you could say the same thing about the Devils. The Devils were the highest seeded team.
That is true. I mean, they were consistently good the entire year.
They just had goalie issues, that ended up manifesting themselves in the second round.
Yeah, so that's what, and even like the Phillies, you felt like the Phillies weren't even playing all that well in the regular season down the stretch. I mean, you felt like they almost blew their opportunity to even get into the playoffs. It was just when they got into the playoffs, they got hot. Yeah. Same with the Padres.
Wouldn't you like to see the Yankees or the Mets actually do that this year?
It would be great.
I mean, so they've been scuffling, both teams for the most part. I think the Yankees have kind of straightened the ship out here over the last 25 games. And, I know they lost 2 out of 3 to Baltimore, but, they're just basically clobbering their way through the American League right now.
Yeah.
So they seem like they've straightened that out, and they still haven't been 100% healthy. Now, for the Mets, they have been healthy for the most part, with the except of the pitching staff and a suspended, Max Scherzer.
Yeah. What you're looking for is a run like 2015 with the Mets.
Yes.
Where trade deadline, they got Cespedes, they started winning baseball games, they went in hot. They remained hot.
And remember, that was a mistake they got Cespedes.
Yeah, right. The whole Wilmer Flores and Carlos Gomez and everything else, and they fell into Cespedes, and that's how it ended up playing out. But that's the type of year. I mean, and they just blew through the Cubs in the NLCS. I mean, they were the as hot as you could possibly be at the best time.
I was looking at Spot Track last night too, just trying to see who would possibly be available going into a free agent walk year. I haven't really come up with anybody just yet.
Are you talking about a bat now or
a bat?
I thought you were going to be looking at bullpen guys. You're all into the bullpen.
I want bullpen guys too, but they know more about that than I do. I'm just not. I'm not looking at those splits.
You're not looking at those splits. You're looking at those chase rates.
No, I'm not looking at those chase rates either. At least I haven't yet.
Okay, which you will. You will get to it
somewhere along the line as we get closer to the to the trade deadline, yes,
Right.
I'll start looking at chase rates for you.
Sure, thanks. And, yeah, I mean, with all this free time you've got on your hands,
Yeah.
you can comb through Spot Track and
Yes.
Baseball Reference and Fan Graphs, and it really is amazing. This is your downtime of year. That's what you like to say. This is
Right,
your
yeah,
downtime.
my downtime, my slow time.
Yeah, your slow time
Yeah.
out of the 12 months. Yeah, with one
eye
eye open. All right, it is Boomer and Gio on the Fan and CBS Sports Network.